Please take your seats. The program is about to begin.
That was our hype guy.
Please take your seats. Tracy is about to dazzle your socks off.
Free entertainment. Free entertainment.
Thank you. With beer, bourbon, any kind of cocktails. Whiskey, Tennessee. It is 1 o'clock. Hello, everybody. We expect that due to the lines at lunch that people will continue to walk in. But because we have a bit of a robust session, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we'd like to welcome you all to Insider's Guide to the next phase of serving and working with adult learners. My name is Matt Bergman, and I'm from the University of Louisville, as well as the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education, which is in essence THEC, but for Kentucky. And then I also have a nonprofit called the Center for Academic Innovation.
Hi, I'm Tracy Robinson, and I am Executive Director of the Center for Regional Economic Enrichment. That is a very long name. At the University of Memphis, I oversee our credit for prior learning and a finished program, which is a degree completion program, non-credit training, and then also a couple of grants. And if you read the description app, you knew or saw perhaps that we were going to be joined by a third party, Buffy Tanner from Shasta College. This is a picture of Buffy, if you could just imagine her here. At the bottom right, we did include a picture that we do indeed know Buffy, and we do indeed typically present with Buffy on this topic, but unfortunately, she had a conflict and is at the Competency-Based Network Conference because they are actually launching competency-based courses in January. So we had to carry on the torch without her. But we are all three CALE ambassadors and have been working together for many years. And so today we want to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing and then also what we are seeing as new initiatives related to adult learners. Before we do that, I want to start with some of our core beliefs. We think it's important to ground ourselves in the work that we do and who we are doing the work for and alongside. We believe adult learners belong and are important on our campuses. I would even say on all campuses. We approach the work from a strengths-based, solution-focused intent. Very often when we talk to colleagues, we talk about many of the challenges that adult learners have, but we like to reframe those as opportunities as often as we can because we believe that language does matter. And we believe that instead of asking are students ready to attend our institutions of higher education, it should be flipped as well. Are our institutions ready for the adult learners that we want to attract? And that's a very different mindset. And I think...
Can I get an amen for the core?
Thank you. The worst thing that you can do as an institution is to invite learners to come to an institution that is not ready for them, that does not have the supports and the programs to make them successful. And so we need to remember that as higher ed institutions. So just quickly, you are in Memphis. Again, welcome if I haven't already said that to you. Just a little bit of context. We are what we consider to be in the heart of Memphis. This is our community. We are through and through. This is our city. This is our mission. We are a public institution and have about 19,652 students as of fall. We are part of SACS COC. Much of the topics that we talk about, people ask, well, what about your accreditation? What about your accreditation? So just want to put that out there. Over 250 areas of study, and we have a very strong online presence, over 100 fully online degrees. I'm just going to skip over this quickly. And by the way, the slides are in the app. I just added those just a little bit ago. These are kind of the 4 areas that I oversee at the Center for Regional Economic Enrichment.
And at the University of Louisville, we have just eclipsed 25 or 26,000 students, and we're headed upwards. So where we see a lot of a decline at the University of Louisville, a state institution is seeing some growth. And that is due in part to some of our focus and our movement of adults into the mission of the university, which is a magical phrase that I like to say simply because for 20 years, I have felt as though we have lived in the margins. As we have served adult learners in continuing education, these pieces have felt like they were off as side projects, pet projects, and I always like to call our program, the Bachelor of Science in Organizational Leadership, the redheaded cash cow. So redheaded,
got an name for that.
Redheaded in that it's a stepchild, and cash cow, they love our money because we have those full pay working learners. So where are we and how do we get here? We have toiled away for years and years, as we kind of stated, that we felt like we would love a seat at the table to talk about the institutional mission and how adult learners, specifically working learners, people in transition, could find ways to be recruited with scholarships, be honored with flexibility and unique credentials, and woven in to the campus community so there was some belonging. So what we found over the course of how many years, Tracy, how many years are you at Memphis now? 25 for Tracy at Memphis. I'm 20 at the University of Louisville. And 20 and 25 years ago, our lives were quite a bit different in how we worked. Today, we have evolved into this new way of thinking because of some of the success that we've had. So today, we want to talk about the next phase, but before we do that, we want to talk about the evidence that we have found to be very clear of what actually works.
And so we will touch on these 4 areas: credit for prior learning, our condensed, our shorter term courses, our adult focused, our concierge approach. Some even call it coaching as opposed to advising. And then we both have what we call comebacker programs. So before we talk about that for a few minutes, if you have your phone and want to scan and participate, or those online, can go to slido.com, SLIDO, and tell us, the number is 3440961. What is your institution offering in these categories? And you can select more than one: credit for prior learning, condensed courses, degree completion programs, or adult focus programs. Yeah. And so here we are. Not surprising that we see a good number of credit for prior learning. We are at Cale after all. And I'm suspecting that many of these, like us, are probably doing a couple of these at the same time, or maybe doing one really well and thinking about going into another area. This is really exciting because these are the 4 areas that we have really focused on for the last several years. Each one of these topics could be probably an hour-long session, but we're going to run through these really quickly. We're happy to talk more with you about it if you would like. But
we are excited that those in the audience that have not responded positively that you have these things, that you're sitting here, because if you're not doing it, you should be doing it. Point blank, full stop. These things have been proven across a range of campuses, specifically state institutions that are R1, as effective, as enrollment growers, and retention growers as well. So not only are you able to recruit more of a new market segment of adult learners, but you now are retaining them at a higher rate, thus that you are increasing the revenue for your institution. So if some of these folks in the 42 compressed 7-8 week sessions and some of the adult focused programs with specialized advising know that there are institutions like University of Memphis, University of Louisville that have run the gauntlet. We have struggled through navigating how to make these things work, and now they do work. So know that each one of us, Tracy, myself, and a lot of our Kale ambassadors are open source in the way that we communicate about our own programs. You're going to hear about specific detailed programs from both of us, but know that these are open source. Anything we have, any forms we have, of course, the website open, but some of the things behind the curtain, we want those to be available to everyone sitting in this audience that wants to adopt something that we know actually empirically works.
And then you don't have to have the battle scars that we have when we were trying to build these, right? And it's worth the work. So let's talk about credit for prior learning, our definition here. I'm sure many of you already know that. We focus on the word learning. This is not necessarily experience. This is not a resume where we wave a magic wand and people get credit. We are awarding credit for learning that is demonstrated. Matt and I both have a portfolio development course. We have students who have completed that portfolio development course and successfully both earned 30 credit hours each toward their bachelor's degree and have graduated at the University of Memphis. So these things work. We both also have several industry credentials and other pre-assessed license certifications that we leverage for our students as well. Anything?
So if there's any reluctance to CPL, which we wouldn't expect a lot from this room because we are the choir, you are here for a reason. We know that you're engaged in this work. You care about it. But whenever you have reluctance, we want to arm you with some language that will truly, hopefully, change the game and also get some skepticism just washed away. And thanks to Kale, both Tracy and I, both of our institutions were part of the 72 institution study, the PLA Boost, that found that students that have access to CPL graduate at a higher rate. Yay, that's fantastic. They graduate faster. But there is this misnomer with our administration in some cases that when they graduate faster, we are now losing tuition revenue. As a result of this beautiful study, we know that that is not the case. The myth is dispelled, and students that have access to CPL actually take 17.6 more credits than those that do not have access. So what does that mean? That seems counterintuitive. It seems like if you get there faster, you don't have to take as many college credits. Well, the net positive revenue from retention gains and persistence to graduation gains is so positive that you are seeing a lot more money coming into the institution as a result of engaging in this practice. So if your administration says, well, I don't know, that could take away from the tuition, or we need to reach faculty load with these courses, know that we have empirical evidence that supports the fact that this is going to work and this is going to improve your overall profitability. That said, it's also important to know that Kale did a recent survey, and of those individuals that were prospective adult learners coming back, 84%, that's right, I said 84%, are using whether or not the institution has CPL in their decision process. So if you do not have CPL, nearly 85% of the students are crossing you off the list.
I don't like being crossed off the list.
Nope.
Yeah. So you're at the right place. If you're just starting out with CPL to learn more here at Kale, again, there's experts. There's a free resource toolkit on the Kale website for members as well. So we're going to move on now to course scheduling. This is our friend Buffy's section. I'm going to try give her perspective because she gets really passionate about this. When we ask adult students to fit into our traditional mode, they are trying to figure out how to manage those green blocks with everything else that is going on in their life. And it is inhumane, cruel and inhumane punishment to make an adult student look at 5 classes, 5 sets of course books, 5 instructors who probably do things completely different, 5 sets of assignments, plus everything else going on in their life. We don't want to be cruel and inhumane punishers to our people. These are the people that we want, right? And so, as part of their ACE program at Shasta, they have been doing compressed courses for probably 5, 7 years. And what they did is they broke their semester down, and students take 2 courses at a time. So now we've reduced 5 courses, 5 instructors down to 2. They complete those in half the semester. In the second half of the semester, they're picking up 2 more classes with 2 more instructors. Doesn't that seem much more manageable?
So the University of Louisville also does these 8-week courses, and we've really tried to flex and adapt to a range of our learners so that when you think about a working learner, what are they doing? Oftentimes part-time, trying to make their life work with their family commitments as well as their, a lot of times 8 to 5. And some people, of course, are on different shifts, but we are trying to adapt to pretty much anyone here. And with these 8-week courses, what we have found is it actually is starting to get some focus and commitment in the research agenda as well. So who here has heard of 15 to Finish? Anybody 15 to Finish? Okay, 15 to Finish is a study that basically showed if a person enrolls in 15 credit hours, they are way more likely to graduate in 4 to 6 years. Well, duh. Naturally, if a person enrolls in a lot of courses each semester and stays enrolled, they are likely to finish at a much higher rate. So what we did, both Buffy, Tracy, and I, we looked at how do we break that down for a part-time student and look at the possibility of 15 to Finish in a different approach. So with Buffy, they did 2 classes per each 8-week semester, which gets you your 12 credits. And then you take a summer class or 2, and then you take your fall class, and you've got your 15 to Finish, no problem. You've got your 30 hours each year. With the University of Louisville, we broke it down even further. What we tried to do was we said we have 8-week semesters in the fall and spring, but now we have compartmentalized smaller sections in the summer and also a winter term. That way, if a person wants to enroll in one class only each semester, they have 1 book and 1 professor. And they start in the fall in August, then they have an October class, then they have a winter class, and then they have a January class, and then they have an April class, and then they have 2 or 3 in the summer. We haven't gotten to 30, but we have done an insurmountable, unbelievable job of getting to 24 in a year with 1 class at a time. Now, what we see in the literature is that if a person maintains enrollment, that is a huge impact in their ability to persist to graduation. And maintaining their enrollment at 1 class per semester is much more attainable and much more palatable for so many of our learners.
And another option is this qualifies for federal financial aid full-time because it's 12 credit hours. And also, if something happens, let's say in October, and maybe you've got to stop out to care for someone, then you've still got those 6 hours behind you. You're not having to withdraw from 12 hours and not have any net positive. Often we find faculty members are a little hesitant about how do I do this in 7 or 8 weeks, the same content. We often do it in the summer, right? So it's not that far off from reality. The next part is about our Some College No Degree. How many of you have heard SCND? And then also completion strategies. A lot of conversation about this group of individuals. What's the latest number, Matt, of how many? And
43 million people with some college.
he said 43 million individuals in the US with some college and no degree. I also would like for us to just stop. This is a little bit sobering for a moment, but those folks do have some credential. It's student loan debt. It's student loan debt that prevents them from moving forward in their life. Again, not the credential that we want them to have. It is our imperative to help these students. So at the University of Memphis in 2012, we started our Finish Line program. It recruits back students who have 90 credit hours, basically got to senior status and stopped attending before graduating. Most of our degrees are 120 credit hours, so they're looking at 30 hours to complete. As we all know, life gets in the way, sometimes good times, sometimes bad. But most of our students that we surveyed, it was financial reasons, number one, that they stopped attending, or personal reasons. They moved out of town, they were caring for a family member or whatever. Their intention was never to stop out completely, but one semester turns into another semester, turns into another semester. And I don't know about you, but our institution doesn't always make it easy for students to return. They have to do a new application. They have to tell us if they've been at any other institutions, all legitimate questions, but we make it hard. We make it harder than it needs to be. And so I have we didn't start out this way. This was my other duties as assigned as a pilot program. Anybody ever had other duties as assigned? There are a few hands, yeah. And this grew. We had a whopping $25,000 to start. And our goal with the vision of my associate dean at the time, Dr. Richard Irwin, we said, we're going to do something about this. We were in the College of Professional and Liberal Studies. I ran a list of students who were at a 2.0 grade point average, who had 90 or more credit hours, ran that list through the National Student Clearinghouse to make sure they hadn't graduated from other institutions, and also ran it to see if there were significant financial holds, because we all know those exist as well. The list turned out to be about 3,000 students, and I was like, holy moly, how in the world am I going to do this as my other duties as assigned?
Did you say holy moly?
I said holy moly.
Okay.
Yes. I could say other words, but
Yes.
I'm trying to keep it clean.
We're live streaming.
Yes, we are. It's being recorded. So sorry. So I said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Well, I broke that list down, the higher number of upper division hours, the shorter time that they had been away. And I broke those down into 25 groups at a time and started calling and emailing. My boss had assigned me a GA that helped me do some of the calls. Long story short, we graduated 3 students. We started those calls in September. We found 3 students who could graduate by December. The power of those 3 stories, I was addicted. I mean, really, truly, the word is addicted. And I said, we gotta figure this out. By the next May, we had graduated, I think, 6 or 7 more students, and we had many more in the queue. And this program has now graduated 1,189 students since 2012. I am so lucky to have grown that staff into 2 full-time advisors, what I call completion concierges. We stay with those students from the point that they come back to the University of Memphis, because we don't want them to go away again. We are lucky to have scholarship. We have direct referrals, warm handoffs to other experts on campus. This is hard work. It wasn't easy. We grew incrementally and thankfully had some support from the institution along the way. And other partners, I see my good friend Jackie Arnold at Sailor Academy. We're presenting tomorrow on our partnership with our Finish Line program. But this is good work, and the institution thankfully started giving us resources. And we have about 350 or so students in the process of graduating. It's bachelor's degree. We tried it at the master's level. It was much harder. That didn't go anywhere. Still on the table, but bachelor's is what we focus on.
And then Tracy and I were presenting one time and she told me a little about this. And then I saw her present about this. And this was in the phase of maybe 2014 or 15. And I said, that's a good idea. I think we'll call ours Comeback Cards. And we started with 8 students and now we're at hundreds of students. So we're working towards those thousands. But we basically took Tracy Robinson's playbook and we took it up to the University of Louisville and did the exact same thing. And now it's important to understand when you run these queries, when you get into the IR database and you have this, there's a lot of work with advising, with your degree audit process. That's fine. There is some devil in the details. You have to be into the laborious process of finding people's paths and creating very efficient approaches. What we found, just like Memphis, is that there are some archaic policies and degree plans and programs from when these people were previously enrolled. And what we had to do was work with each department to find out if we could move to a new catalog that would get them down to 2 classes or 4 classes or less classes or more classes, or stay on the old catalog so it would be a faster path. So know that this is a bit of a toiling process. It does take some effort, but good God, it is kind of an addicting process knowing that you can get someone to the finish line to come back and connect and have a really celebratory process in a very quick path.
All right, so that's what we have been focusing on for the last several years. We want to give you some highlights of where we think we're heading. And this picture is intentional. These paths are not linear and they often intersect and sometimes clash and go in different directions. This is insider's guide from Matt and Tracy on where we think we're going. We reserve the right to change these next year if you see the same presentation.
Yes, and know that these are a work in progress, but they are not just getting started. We are in the thick of this. We're in the weeds. As you see, these partnerships partially exist, and we're trying to expand them greatly to try and create some real momentum that will start to attract more corporate partnerships, more industry connections, more nonprofit government connections.
Yes, so this first group at the University of Memphis, we call corporate partnerships. Matt has something very similar. This section is in very close collaboration. I liked what Jessica Gibson said this morning, co-ownership, moving from collaboration to co-ownership with our U of M Global department. And they are very closely connected with us. That's our online, 100% online degree programs. We have both degree seeking and non-credit training with 5 major employers. One of those you probably heard of, FedEx, based in Memphis. That was our first. We now have programs with City of Memphis, Shelby County Government, Nike, and Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare, who is actually winning an award tomorrow for our partnership. So very excited about that. These programs have evolved and include some co-branding with our partner. We swapped the whole process in the beginning. When we started these, we found out the biggest barrier that these are utilizing tuition assistance. Sorry, I didn't say that, from the employer. The biggest barrier students had was getting enrolled, paying for them, and then getting reimbursed. So we flipped that model. Wasn't always easy in the beginning with some of those discussions, but we flip the model where we direct bill now to those employees. So there's no upfront money required from the employee or student. We also said, hey, please let us look at your corporate training so that we can assess that for corporate for credit for prior learning. So now an employee at FedEx gives us their training transcript, and then in a matter of a couple of days, they know how much credit that they can get through credit for prior learning. It's a very seamless process. We also have an earned admission program through that we call Prep Academy. That was a deal breaker with FedEx from the very beginning. They said they wanted every employee to have access. Some of them had not earned a high school diploma. Some of them had were not college ready according to admissions. And so we have an experience now that if they finish basically what equates to 4 online courses, a college prep course, a career planning, personal development, then they have earned admission to the University of Memphis. No other questions asked. We've replicated that in all the other programs as well. We have an entire staff dedicated to this. That's what it takes. And we've had hundreds of students graduate. We started out with them being funneled into 1 degree program, organizational leadership. Made a lot of sense to the employer. Now it's expanded to many other undergraduate majors as well as graduate programs as well. Your employers want to invest in their employees with their tuition assistance. You have to have the conversations with them to work out the details. This has been a game changer for us, and we'd love to scale it even bigger.
So you've got to understand that there is some really amazing success here at the University of Memphis. We have similar partnerships at UPS and Yum Brands and some of those corporate partners in a very urban or metropolitan area in Louisville, just like Memphis is very urban. But you might be in a more rural area or in a smaller market. And to get this started, you just need to take the first step. And as Tracy talked about, this assessing of corporate training for CPL, that is your foot in the door. When you think about connecting with an HR representative at one of the surrounding employers in your area, that is what you lead with, saying, we would like to leverage your tuition assistance and also acknowledge and value the learning that has happened within your organization for academic credit. As a result of that, your dollars will go longer and farther with the tuition assistance. Great. Also, your employee will be skilled up. Great. Also, the employee will likely incur little to no debt. Okay, now we're talking. So what's the catch? Well, there's no catch because when we create these reciprocal partnerships, we have all those wins. But now we have a corporate partner where our traditional graduates are more likely to be employed. So we win all the way around when we connect with these corporate partners and acknowledge and value the learning that is occurring within the organization. Now, the vetting process for CPL is manageable. If you haven't done that, know that Kale is a resource, know that we are a resource, and we're ready to tackle those things as a result of a lot of the broad scale that ACE, or the American Council on Education, as well as the Kale standards, as well as the Carnegie classification of how many contact hours might be transmitted or translated into academic credit. So whether that's a course match or more broad-based elective credit, an adult-friendly program, or expanding out to the university, there are so many opportunities with this corporate partnership. It has been such a wonderful process to start with organizational leadership at Memphis, at the University of Louisville. But now we're seeing these corporate partners give us the nudge, which means that the entire campus, and we have at the University of Louisville, I was just informed today, a CPL task force. And it's hard not to get a little emotional about this because 20 years ago, I was trying to figure out how to engage engineering in the business school and arts and sciences. And now it's happening and it's just magic and beautiful. And I'm so grateful for it because it has been so challenging. And each and every one of you know the politics of our institutions create a lot of challenges when we're trying to make these strides. But know that we are a testament to the toiling, the hard work that now it's happening. And we're seeing it university-wide, where we started small in boutique style efforts, pockets of excellence for adult serving.
We love the word pilot too. Sometimes that reduces the stress, right? You're not opening the floodgates. We're not going to have thousands of students come. We might get there when we scale up, but if you call it a pilot, maybe it eases the anxiety a little bit. So the second thing that is newer or on the horizon, we think, is a try before you buy. How many of you have talked to an adult learner who says, I'm not sure if I'll be good at online learning, or I'm not sure if that's really what I want to do? So this was a birth during COVID, where we were sitting at home with nothing to do. And my boss at the time, that was the worst thing that could ever happen to us, is him having idle time. My colleague here, Scott, who worked for him at the same time, is shaking his head. So he said, what if we put some of these online courses that we already teach, put it in an open access platform? So we are a Canvas school. We purchased a different version of Canvas, a continuing education version of Canvas, not tied to our student information system. All you need is an email address to get into it. And we took these two courses, college prep. Who doesn't want their 17, 16-year-old student trying to figure out how to do college right? And the second course is Adulting 101. It's a course I teach. The actual course is called Family Resource Management. It looks at how we manage money, time, house, all that kind of thing. But we thought that wouldn't attract a whole lot of attention, so we called it Adulting 101. We opened these courses. Again, they're completely free because they are our courses. If a person completes these courses, and they do have optional assessments in them, and earn a minimum score on those assessments, and become a University of Memphis student, then they can actually earn credit for these courses through Credit for Prior Learning. So each one of these are available for 3 credit hours at a fee of $225. We've had hundreds and we've had thousands of students who have enrolled. We've had hundreds who have completed them, and many of those have become students at the University of Memphis. Another thing that's really good about this, I don't know if you've talked to an adult student in March and told them that your next semester begins in August. They're like, thank you very much. They hit the door, because adult learners want something to do as soon as they have the interest. Because this is not tied to admissions, it's not tied to our student information system, we can directly put students there. They're learning Canvas at the same time. So when they do become our student, they're more comfortable with the online platform. And there's credit for prior learning. It's exciting stuff.
So when you get these early wins, it's almost like a catapult. It's like a person reconnecting, thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I'm worthy of this. Oh, I don't know if I can do it. And when that success happens, it creates a massive bit of momentum towards, hey, maybe this works. I call this our effort to turn people into peacocks. So oftentimes when adult learners come in for their first advising appointment, they're sulking, well, it didn't work out the first time. You know, when I was 18, I know I'm 42, but I drank too much. You know, like, who's heard that story? Oh, I got deployed. Oh, I had a child. These significant life events during the traditional approach created a stop out scenario. And when we reconnect, we've got to unload all of that baggage and help them understand of how valuable they are because of their context, because of their experiential learning within industry. And once we can unveil that and help them understand how valuable they are, we've got the peacocks. And we do the CPL process, we work through a portfolio, and you wouldn't believe the transformation. I know some people in this audience have done the portfolio process. After that, It's like, hey, you wouldn't believe how much I know. I'm, standing a lot taller as a result of that engagement with either try before you buy or early wins. So creating those early wins for adults are truly essential when you're trying to re-engage. If, and I heard this at a recent conference, they had some students up on the stage. They said, well, what would you recommend for us as administrators and faculty as we're, welcoming you onto campus? And they said, one student said, well, don't catfish us. And the audience was like, whoa. They said, well, what I mean by that is don't put a bunch of people that look like me on a brochure and say you have these things with online and evening and flexible approaches and credit for prior learning. And then when we get here, it vanishes. So that is the key. And Tracy said that earlier, but if you're going to walk that walk, you better have something to back up that you are truly adult learner engaged. Otherwise, you have a new stop at experience that may be the last stop at experience, because the second time around, when they are already feeling a bit vulnerable and it doesn't go so well, that becomes the most challenging recruiting process in America, trying to get those people back into the flow.
How many of you are over or have relationships, close collaborations with your professional and continuing education units on your campus? So I think they're getting also more attention these days, especially if you're looking at workforce training and skilling up. We have opportunities, lots of talk about stackable micro credentials, and a lot of these are starting in the non-credit space. Just want to make sure that as you're thinking about those, you're figuring out, can they translate to credit for prior learning or some sort of credit pathway? Especially anytime we're looking at a new professional and continuing education training on our campus, especially if it's one of our faculty members who are teaching it. The very first question I'm going to ask, can we go ahead and assess this for credit for prior learning so that while the individuals are doing the training, they know this can count for them in the future if they become a University of Memphis student later. You've got to be intentional about those things, and then they become excellent recruiting tools as well.
And it's really important to know that on 10 o'clock on Friday, you could hear a lot about the Comeback Cards program and some of our big success. We have basically, led by Hannah White, I don't think she's in the room, but she's fantastic, looking at previously enrolled students at U of L and have been away and trying to re-recruit those individuals through some debt forgiveness. This is framed off of the Warrior Way Back, which is at Wayne State University, but we are trying to find ways to replicate this all over the country and look at debt forgiveness because of the future tuition revenue that you're going to collect. So think about those that have some debt. A re-recruitment piece with some debt forgiveness is truly very impactful.
There was another poll, but how about we skip those because I want to leave some time for questions. I think we have about 8 minutes left. So are you okay if we just open it up to questions?
Yeah, so let's sum it up,
Yeah.
and then we're going to open it up for questions because we have about 7 minutes left, but we want to give you all an opportunity because our friend Beth has a microphone. So it'll be your time to shine, sing, or ask a question. But the snowball effect from local to system-wide, we kind of look at this as a grassroots approach. Tracy was an office of one, basically, right? I was an office of 2 faculty with no recruitment support. What? How do you become a faculty member and then engage in work to try and recruit students? That's nonsense. It was not great for my career, but it was what I wanted to do specifically because of this addiction to helping people have better lives through educational attainment. So this was really incremental and baby steps, and know that it is going to take that for you all. I know some people in this room have made some huge strides, and I know that others are just getting started. So know that you have a community both in this room alongside the Prior Learning Assessment Network and the CALE CPL Toolkit. All of this exists on an open source basis to try and get you rolling, and know that you've got friends going forward.
We'll put our email addresses up at the end as well, but we are open to questions. And if there's something online, Beth, I think, has been monitoring that chat. Here.
That's coming to you. I think the online group that, since we're virtual too, that for them to hear you, it would be great to have more.
So for your credit for prior learning, I assume you do the portfolios also?
We both do, yes.
Okay, and so as far as your portfolios, do you all, are they required to take a class to learn how to, so you have a class? Do you charge for the class?
Our class, we do not. It is a 0 credit hour online course, self-paced, with a credit for prior learning coordinator who is the coach and helps students walk through that. Our students pay a credit hour fee if they are awarded credit, $75 for undergraduate students, $100 for graduate students, because we are doing portfolios at the graduate level as well.
Okay, and then at the University of Louisville, we charge for the class and then all the credit goes on for free. So there are different models, financial models of how to approach this. But understand, if you want faculty to review, there's going to be some sort of incentive or compensation for them to be involved.
Gotcha. And then my other question, the online component, is the program entirely asynchronous?
Yes, all of our programs in our U of M Global program are asynchronous. I have an instructor sitting here, Scott Van, and I want to give her a shout out if she's not in the room, Courtney Bradford, my counterpart, executive director, who's helped with many of those initiatives. It is asynchronous.
And all asynchronous at the University of Louisville as well, but also some graduate courses that are synchronous. So it's a mix at the undergrad and graduate level, but mostly asynchronous.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I have a question with regards to non-degree credentials and corporate training, which you translate into CPL. So what's the mechanics? How do you exactly do that? Match it to courses that you offer, or is there a different process for that?
So for the University of Memphis, because I know them so intimately through my work wife here, they do both course match and also category or broad-based category. The University of Louisville does some course match, but mostly category-based credit. So in essence, elective credit towards that pocket of the degree. The mechanics happened in that class demonstrating some mastery or competency in a topic area that may be aligned with an ACE or American Council on Education recommendation. Could be military, could be corporate, or some life learning narrative alongside validating documents or artifacts that support and reflect that the student has met that. Now, it's important to understand that a lot of these life learning narratives or the content that people develop in a narrative is driven by an experiential learning model. Some use Kolb, the Kolb learning cycle. Some use the Bloom's taxonomy, but that gives a guide and a framework for a student to develop some of their writing to demonstrate that mastery as they request the credit alongside the artifacts.
And I have to plug my next session at 2:00. If you see me running out of the room, I'm co-presenting with Scott, one of our faculty evaluators, our registrar, and our credit for prior learning coordinator. We're going to talk about how we do that a little bit more. Ballroom D, I believe.
And we've done those sessions for years and years and years. So we talk about the mechanics and the guts of that as well. So feel free to reach out to us and then also come at 2:00.
We both.
Yes, and both and, yeah. But think about AP is credit for prior learning. So if you've got some reluctance, say, well, are we cool with this for 17, 18-year-olds? We ought to be able to be cool with the 42-year-old mid-level executive evaluating some of that credit.
Hi, I just wanted to mention, I'm faculty, but I also assess a lot of credit for prior learning. And one of the ways that I'm trying to get other faculty to also assess it. And one of the things that certainly helps with this, which hasn't been mentioned yet, is that if they obtain credit for prior learning from your institution, the likelihood that they are going to complete their degree at your institution, because moving to another institution is going to be a whole new set of hoops to jump through, then you have them there. and they're probably going to complete that degree there and graduate.
Yeah, so much of the research around traditional retention, traditional student retention is around belonging. You want to know how to create belonging for adults? Credit for prior learning. There's no way for them to join a bunch of clubs on campus and hang out and play guitar on the quad. But when you create this belonging through acknowledgement and value what they learned, that is a magic pill to get them to graduation.
And I often say, nobody's taken me up on this offer yet, but there's research that should be done about these students and their giving back to the university once they graduate. I believe they are bigger givers, bigger providers of internships and other things for students that come behind them as well.
Yeah, the average student that gives back to their institution is 10 years after graduation. So alumni, advancement, all of those folks, development offices, they're really keyed in on those people that have been separated from the institution and graduated 10 years ago. This pocket of population of learners, they graduate and almost immediately they have access, they have context, they have experience, and they have higher level positions, and they're more likely to give back. So if you want to do that research, hit us up.
Yeah. I just don't want to do the research. I just have the idea. We thank you all for coming to this session. We believe in this work so much. Hopefully you saw that or heard that in our presentation. Please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to share other information with you. Go forth and conquer the world. You can do it. It is worth doing. And thank you for coming.